The identity piece with both cultural appropriation and just Native identity in general is super complicated, and I think folks have such little awareness and understanding about Native people anything, so it's not surprising to me that people are very confused by what it means to actually be a Native person. And it seems like almost every week in the news there is a new person who is claiming Native identity. Most often they tend to claim Cherokee. Within the last couple of weeks it was Blake Lively has a new ad campaign for L'Oreal where she claims that she is Cherokee. Yes. It's for their True Match line, and so they have all of these folks from tons of different backgrounds, and they list out all of the things that make up their heritage. And so Blake says that she's like Irish, German, Scottish, and Cherokee. And so each time this happens with a new celebrity or a new public person, the conversation has to often start back at square one of describing that it's not just about having heritage, it's about having a connection to a community, it's about relationships, who claims you as well as who do you claim, and that those relationships to tribal nations come with them a level of responsibility to that nation. And the hard thing is with every kind of line that we draw, there's always someone who is an exception. And so I often talk about folks who were adopted out of communities back before we had the Indian Child Welfare Act, who have grown up without those tribal connections, in some cases don't even know their actual tribal affiliation because those records were sealed. But that is a very small minority of Indian country. So yes, that's an exception. And then I never want folks who are rebuilding the connections with their communities and are still trying to find that connection to be discouraged by the conversations that go on, because those people are not Blake Lively. Those people are people who have an actual connection to the community, and because of generations of settler colonialism are in the process of having to rebuild that connection. So but it becomes insidious and problematic when we're in an age, especially now, where Native lands and rights and water and everything that we deeply care about is under attack in many ways. And when we have folks without that deep connection to land and community claiming the identity, then people look to them as spokespeople, and they may not be in support of the causes that we care about. And it takes away that primary kind of claim to land and sovereignty that Native people have. It delegitimizes that, because if they're Indigenous, then we're all Indigenous, and it takes away that kind of primacy of identity. So, but it's frustrating to see how many folks claim it for personal gain, and how they don't see the connection between that act as being something that in many ways is pretty violent to communities, it contributes to erasure, and is an ongoing act of colonial kind of mentality too. So I used to be more hesitant talking about it, just as someone who grew up away from my community, who is still building those ties back up. But the more and more it happens, I get more and more angry and just want folks to understand that appropriation of identity goes hand in hand with the commodification of our designs and our stories and our ideas as well.
Right, right.